So I think that's, for me, that's the interesting thing about the Nets is, like you were saying, Suku, the Nets are very stacked. So they're almost going to be a lot like the Clippers. So they're going to have two superstars. And then like Karis LeVert in Orlando has been next level. Like he's basically been the go-to guy for the team and he's delivered every single time. So it's going to be interesting whether they make him sixth man or whether they keep him in the starting rotation. Because what they could ideally do is they could run a two-man game like the Clippers are. So Kawhi and PG start, and then they bring in Lou and Trez from the bench. So they could do the same with Karras and Spencer Dinwiddie, where like the Nets are always coming for you, like no matter who's on the court. But then another interesting team for me, speaking about the East, is everyone always talks about the West and how teams are stacked in the West, but the East actually has some really good teams. I mean, we've spoken about the Bucks, the Raptors, we just spoke about the Nets. But there's two other teams that are quite good. When we spoke about the 76ers, but the Heat are an interesting team for me. And even more than the Heat are the Pacers, because the Pacers have Spencer, have Malcolm Brogdon. They've got TJ Warren now, who's starting to ball. Victor Oladipo is getting back into the swing of things. They've actually got quite a nice team. They've got Joe Ingles, I think, is also there. I mean, Joe Ingles is at the Jags, sorry. But they've got like a nice team that's actually starting to come together and they're getting the players healthy. Apart from the Bucks and the Raptors, who else in the East do you guys think could be a threat to those two teams? Well, tell me what you think, Sugu. Otula, do you want to go?
Yeah, he's ready. He's ready. Let me look at the reaction.
He's ready with the answer for this one.
No, I'm just listening to you overlooking the Celtics right now. I'm like, that you just overlooked my team.
Pretty tools. I was like, yo, Boston.
Wow. What? You're just gonna overlook my team like yeah, Celtics, dude. Celtics. Well, I mean, I do have some critiques about Celtics. As a Celtic fan, there are a few things that I'm very concerned about. But Celtics has been putting it on. Like I think Jaylen Brown and Tatum like are playing really well. Like it's amazing. Like Tatum is Kobe-esque right now. Like no lie. Like he's Kobe-esque. Like he's the guy that. Like I'm still surprised that like in last positions, Celtics has done this twice in games where in their final positions they haven't given Tatum the ball, and it's always been like why or like what's happening? Is he not clutch? I'm not sure what's happening, but the Celtics is a really good team, and I'm looking at them either making it. I'm even looking at them making it past the second round and actually doing the conference finals. That's if a team like that's if a team like the Heat actually doesn't perform as well as they've been performing lately. Because I mean for me, teams that are actually making it past the first round in the East is the Celtics, is the Raptors, it's the Bucks, and it's the Heat. So these four teams.
That'll come later.
All right, cool. So we know now, so you don't have to ask me that. But but the only thing that I see the Celtics really having an advantage of is that the Celtics have always had a really good system in the playoffs. We've seen it even when LeBron was playing against them in like 2 seasons ago when he was still in Cleveland. They can really, really put it on in the playoffs. And they have a brilliant coach who by now really knows and understands how every player works. I think the only team that I'm afraid might be able to stop the Celtics is the Bucks, because they don't have an answer for Giannis. But other than that, like I see them going all the way. Not just as a fan, but yeah, I mean they're really good. But yeah, I can't believe you didn't even what.
Yeah, I was like, why is Tula? Does he hate the Heat? Does he not rate the Pacers? What the hell's going on?
No,
was so confused, but now it makes complete sense. I think also it depends on Kemba's health, because I think when they have the starting five, they probably have one of the best, if not the best, starting five in the league. And like you said, like Brad Stevens is a hell of a good coach, and he gets that team to play good defense. So as we know, playoffs and championships are won by defense. So who knows what Boston can do? Sugu, I hope I didn't offend you by leaving any teams out. Whether you're
Oh yeah, no, but I'm pretty chilled. I think with the East, it's going to be interesting because it's the Heat versus the Pacers. That's the playoff series, you know. So that's going to be an interesting series to see who comes out of that. I probably think the Heat will come out of that, and then in that sort of Celtics bracket, if like I think the Celtics can probably take off the Sixers, but then they have to face the Raptors, so that's going to be quite interesting for me, like that Celtic Raptors. So I think there's some interesting matchups in the East. I think the Celtics, like obviously Bucks and Raptors are my two probably favorites, and then I would say the Celtics are like a dark horse, because I mean like GT kind of alluded to it where he kind of left them out, but it's like they're that team that everyone is so used to kind of seeing them ball that they forget that these guys are actually prime time. So I think the Celtics are a team that we got to look out for sure. But hey, man, I don't know. I think Tools, you touched on it. Once they got to face the Bucks, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
It's
But
gonna be very interesting.
it's going to be very interesting. And that's if they can get past the Raptors. Do you really think they'll get past the Raptors that easy?
Well, with the Raptors, I think the Raptors have probably the most interesting type of defense in the East, because they have interesting ways to switch between matchups. So they won't necessarily say Pascal Siakam, you go for JT, for example. They'll have different types of players during games, switching to different players. And that's the one thing that the Raptors have, is that outside of just a lot of like great defense within them protecting the paint, they can also protect the perimeter. And the Raptors against the Celtics, I think that the Celtics defensively are slightly less stronger actually than the Raptors, but offensively though, they actually have also a slight advantage over the Raptors offensively, because they have so many players that can actually make shots, like even in the fourth quarter. Like they have so many players that can make shots, and that's the one thing that's always been something that I think a lot of teams fear about the Celtics, is that these guys really, really know how to make shots, and they make shots everywhere. I mean, Kanter really does it in the paint. Even though he's not like the most physically dominant guy, he's very smart and he really knows how to play in the paint. And you have players who can literally just sit half court and literally play that game, and they play like players who've won rings already. They play like they play a very experienced game. And Celtics and Raptors would be a very interesting matchup. If that even does become a matchup, like we're talking maybe 7-game stretch, like it might be that hectic. Like like it might be that hectic. But
Dope.
Sorry about that, gents.
No, it's all good. We were just chatting Celtics again, so we just kind of wrapped up that Celtics convo.
Right, cool. Okay, so did you say your part? So did you speak your piece?
Yeah. I'm all good.
Alright, cool. So Tula, because you jumped the gun last time, so what I want to do is I want to ask you guys about which teams you see winning in the playoffs. So we'll start with the East, right? So I'm just going to say the teams that are matching up, and you guys just no explanations, no going into why. You just tell me which team you think is going to go to the next round. So Milwaukee. So Tula, you can go first on each one, and then Suku, you can go second.
Okay.
So Milwaukee, Orlando.
Milwaukee, of course.
And then
the Bucks.
Suku,
Bucks.
Toronto, Brooklyn.
Toronto, definitely Toronto.
The 6.
Yeah.
6. All right. Okay, I know Tula's answer for this one. So Boston and the 76ers.
You can ask Suku that. I said what I had.
I'm also saying Boston, man. I don't see Philly
You're
right
saying
now.
okay, this is where it gets interesting. And then Indiana and Miami.
Heat. Definitely Heat.
Definitely the Heat.
Yeah, definitely the Heat.
In how many games?
Maybe 5-6 games. I think they might win 2 games at least.
Okay.
I think Pacers might win 2 games, but yeah, the Heat's definitely got it on. You said you weren't gonna ask why. So.
No, I was asking how many games. I was asking how many games. How? Aren't you feeling guilty?
I've got Miami in 6. Yeah.
You got Miami
Yeah.
in 6. And then
6.
before we go to the West, and when we go to the West, you can tell me, you can go first, and then Tula can go second. So you guys remember that story with TJ Warren and Jimmy Butler, where they were going back and forth during the regular season, and Jimmy Butler was like, "You're not in my league." So that's gonna add a little fire and a little more spice to that series because they haven't played each other since that game. So I know they played each other yesterday, but Butler was on the bench, so he didn't play at all. So now that they're playing each other in the 7-game series, it's going to be interesting. Because I remember Jimmy even posted a picture on Instagram or Twitter, I think, where he circled a date in March because that's when the Pacers and the Heat were supposed to play again. But obviously, due to the coronavirus, that game didn't happen. So that shit is going to spice up that series.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Going into the West, Sugumani, Lakers versus Portland.
I got the Lakers in 6.
Lakers versus Memphis.
Lakers versus Memphis. If it's Lakers versus Memphis, I got a sweep. Lakers.
You got a sweep. Wow, no faith in the Grizz. Okay. Tula? Lakers versus Blazers.
Lakers versus Blazers, I think, yeah, same thing. Lakers at 6.
Okay.
Or 7 maybe, but very likely 6. Lakers versus Grizzlies. I don't think it's going to be a sweep though. But I think Grizzlies might just give them a tough time. But Lakers will definitely take. I'm not sure how many games, but Lakers will definitely take it. But I don't think if they face the Grizzlies, it's going to be just a simple like scrimmage type of game. Nah, like they might put it on. So yeah, definitely. But still,
I just love how Sugu didn't even blink, didn't even like hesitate. He was like, sweep.
The broom's out, dog.
Yo.
On that, pick up the Grizzlies, bro.
On that karate, just sweep the leg. Okay, here's an interesting one. Clippers versus Dallas.
Ooh, yeah, that's actually a match I'm looking forward to. I'm going to say, again, I'm probably going to say the LA team in 6, Clippers in 6.
Okay. Tula, who you got?
I say Clippers at 7, because Dallas, boy.
Yeah.
But
hey,
yeah, Clippers at 7.
If there's one series where an upset is likely, I'm going with that one. I think Mavericks might start people and pull out the win. Yeah. Okay, cool. Denver versus Utah.
Nuggets and I'm gonna say Nuggets in. Oh, it's tricky, yeah. Actually, hold on. Let me think about this one.
Come on, tell me the first thing that comes to your head.
I'm gonna say Denver in 7 because didn't these guys match up last year? I feel like there was a matchup like this last year. Can't remember. But yeah.
I think they might have matched up last year.
Might have been, I really like Denver, and we haven't spoken enough about the Jazz and what they have going on. But I think Denver's gonna do it. I think Denver's really gonna do it. Maybe at 6, because they're very deep. But other than that, that's it. Yeah, yeah. I think Denver.
Okay, cool. I think that's going to be interesting, but I think depending on how, like, what shape Jamal Murray is, and if Gary Harris comes back, and how Michael Porter is used by Mike Malone, that series might be interesting because, I mean, you've got Nikola Jokic to kind of nullify, or Rudy Gobert rather, to nullify Jokic.
Sure.
That series is going to be interesting. So it's going to come down to Donovan and Conley versus Jamal Murray and Gary Harris. So it's going to be an interesting series.
Like the matchups are crazy. Yeah, matchups are crazy.
Matchups are insane. Okay, and then this one is, Houston versus the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I like this one just because of the little bit of banter there, but I'm going to give it to Houston in 7.
Houston in 7. Okay.
Yeah.
I say Houston in 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Houston in 6.
I don't know, man. I think the Houston's gonna have too much power, dog. I'm gonna go for a sweep on that one. Maybe 5 games. Maybe 5 games. Maybe 5 games, but I don't see. I don't know, man. I think it's gonna depend on Steven Adams, but you know, I know Chris Paul plays good D. Shea is a good player, but he's not on Harden. Who's gonna guard Harden, guys? Chris.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Hey, yeah, no.
You know?
Yeah, they don't have an answer for Harden.
You don't have an answer for Harden, dude. So it's gonna come down to Adams. It's gonna come down to Adams and how they guard Harden, because obviously Adams being in the key is gonna make it hard for us to drive, and they both know each other's game. So that's gonna be an interesting battle on its own. But I don't see how you know, the Thunder are gonna win a game against Houston. I might be wrong. You guys say 6 and 7. I'm like, it's either gonna be a sweep or the Thunder might scrape away with 1 game. And then the end of season awards were also announced this week. This is what everyone looks forward to. So I'm going to save the most heated one for last. I'm going to start with the Rookie of the Year. We've got Ja Morant, Kendrick Nunn from the Heat, and Zion Williamson. I don't know why Zion is there, but who you guys got?
Ja Morant. Ja Morant.
Yeah.
Do you guys think it's weird that Zion's name is there? Like, how many games did he play? I mean, I don't think he's played enough to be even considered Rookie of the Year. I feel like there's other guys who would be there more than him.
He played 24 games.
Yeah.
Ja Morant did play a lot more games, but in those 24 games, he did average over 20 points. So that's something to be said. So he did actually, for his first season, he performed very well, and he met his expectations. But like Ja Morant was Mr. Must-See TV throughout the regular season. Like I'm telling you, bro, like that man was entertaining. He had a fire. I love that first matchup that he had against Kyrie, where he ended up blocking his shots in the last minute. Like Ja Morant really like Ja Morant's got a bright future ahead of him. And I think that he deserves to be Rookie of the Year. I think the only thing with Kendrick Nunn that kind of disqualifies him is that he didn't have to carry the Heat team because the Heat team was already such a good team. And Ja Morant actually came in to Memphis, and not to say that Memphis was not a good team, but Memphis was not Memphis is a very young team. So for somebody who's a rookie to come in and realize, okay, a lot of guys here around my age, we all just trying to still kind of figure out our style and how we play in the NBA and where do we stand in the league, and for him to take a team like that and say, nah, like we are the bad boys, we are the guys that people are afraid of when they come to our court. Like he created that feeling, and that just for that, I think he deserves Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and also because like Houston, Memphis was basically trying to throw the season away, right? They were like, we're just gonna try and get a good slot in the draft, so we're gonna tank this season. And then all of a sudden, Jared Jackson was playing well. Jean Morant was playing well. Dylan Brooks was playing well. So I was like, oh shit, okay, we can actually make the playoffs. So yeah, I think he definitely deserves Rookie of the Year. Suku, I'm guessing you agree with pretty much all of that.
Yeah. I think for me it was like I know why Zion's there because they've got him pitted as like the future of the NBA, so they have to look after their asset and make sure he's in those conversations.
Yeah.
But like that's a business move. But yeah, no, I think Ja was, hey man, Ja's that dude, man. Like just his style of play is like when Wade was still like super fit when he first came into the NBA. He was just all over the paint, like just diving through, slashing through, like just reckless abandonment, man. Like the way Ja dunks, like is this guy even gonna land on his feet? Because he just because he never dunks in like a conventional way. Like he's always reaching over someone, and yeah, he's just so dope to watch.
Cool. Before we move on to the next category or the next awards nominees, who do you guys have today for? Actually, I'm going to save that as the last question. Never mind. Okay, cool. And then Defensive Player of the Year, we've got Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Bucks, Anthony Davis from the Lakers, and Rudy COVID-19 Gobert. Who do you guys got?
COVID-19.
I've got this guy. Rudy Gobert.
I got Giannis.
You got Giannis.
The bubble himself.
Yeah.
The bubble himself.
And I'll say why. I have Giannis as
this guy. Oh, you guys are wild. Okay, cool. So, Sugu, you've got Rudy Gobert, and Tula, you've got Giannis.
Giannis, and I'll say why I have Giannis actually.
Yeah, go for it.
Because Giannis is the reason. He's the main reason why the Bucks have the best defense in the league right now. And the reason why Giannis has done so well is because, like, if you look at the number of steals, the blocks, and just his level of defense has gotten surprisingly better than it was last season. I mean, last season was his MVP season, and one of the reasons why his last season was his MVP season was because of the scoring average. And the reason why this year it's become so much better is because like defensively, like outside of the offense, defense is really like I feel like he's, you know, like when you play 2K, in like one season you get to 90 on your offense, and then the following season you just focus on your defense. Like he actually did really well. He really improved defensively this year. So I think for me, he deserves DPOI for real.
Yeah. So do you want to justify your Rudy Gobert?
He's just, for me, it's overall consistency. Like he's always in that conversation. Like I think a lot of what he does, like he anchors that Utah Jazz defense very well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think, like when he's not on the floor, you can see the difference. So I think he's like, for me, he's like a throwback to like that old sort of center that like mans the defense, the way Tyson Chandler did when the Mavs won the championship. Like I put him in that kind of a vein. And like I just appreciate it for that throwback old school center that just mans his troops.
No, that's dope. Yeah, for me, this is probably like, as much as the MVP conversation is a hard one to have, and it's so like delicate and so like on edge. I think this one's also pretty tight because they've all been amazing on defense. You know, AD has been insane on defense for the Lakers, and you could say the same about Rudy's consistency, and then Giannis has just been a beast for the Bucks. Although for the Bucks, what makes Giannis's thing a little less, as impactful as the others, is you could also probably say that, Brook Lopez could have easily been Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, with AD, you've got KCP, you've got Avery Bradley as well. So it's quite Sorry about that. Okay, cool. And then whereas with Rudy's actually carries the Jazz's defense. So that could be an interesting one. And then sixth man of the year, we've got Dennis Schroeder from the Thunder. We've got Montrezl Harrell from the Clippers, and we've got Lou Magic City Williams from the Clippers as well. Who do you guys got? Mr. Magic City.
Are you gonna start to?
Tula, take it away.
Yeah, cool. I go for Mr. Magic City. Well, first of all, Lou Williams could be literally like Lou Williams could be a starter in any other team.
Yeah.
Like, he should actually be a starter in any other team. But he has expressed that he likes being a bench player and having limited minutes, which is dope. But I mean, a lot of these Clippers games that I've been watching, like a lot of the wins, bro, have been because of Lou Williams. Like when Lou's on the court, he goes off, man. Like he really goes off. And not to say that Montrez is not doing well on his own, but Montrez is Lou Williams's running mate, right? So without Lou on the court, Montrez is effective, but not as effective. And we've seen how their pick and roll is pretty much unstoppable. And I've seen how when Kawhi is on the court and Paul George is on the court and they have Montrez on the court, he still has like points in. But normally, when you look at those games, Montrez will have like a 15-point to maybe a 10-point game if Lou is not on. And if Lou's on, he's like dishing him with like every single time. He's making baskets, all of these baskets, because of how much Lou Williams can actually see him in the court and all that stuff. He's a great six man. I think Lou Williams has proven himself for the past years why he's gotten six man so many times. And I think that he should get a third consecutive one. Like it's dope, man. I really fuck with. Sorry, excuse my French, but I really like his his
it is what it is. And then over to you, Sugumani.
I'm gonna give it to Montrez, man. Just because, like, I think a lot of what he does goes unnoticed and unseen. So I think, like, I mean, yeah, I think Lou gets the glory because of the scoring, but I think Montrez, he puts a body on like a lot of people, like in the paint. So I think he's a good sort of like a facilitator for a lot of what the Clippers do, kind of in the clutch and just like during the game itself, when the two big guys aren't there in Paul George and Kawhi. So I think I'd give it to Montrez because I think a lot of what he does doesn't show up on the stat sheet.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think Lou also gets the glory because he goes to the strip club. But anyway, that's besides the point. I mean, I think the wings, though. But I mean, I think you could, again, you could easily make an argument for any one of those three guys. I mean, I think if you look at the Thunder, for instance, since the bubble, you can tell that a big part of what's missing from their team is Dennis Schroeder, and that's why you can make an argument for him to be sixth man. Because I think if he's in the bubble and he's in Orlando with the Thunder, then I think they definitely win a lot more games than they do. So I think that's why you can argue for him to be sixth man as well. Same with Lou, like you said with Rudy. I mean, how many Lou Williams has 3 sixth man of the year awards? He's tied with Jamal Crawford for the most right now. So if he wins this one, he becomes the most awarded sixth man. And again, goes back to consistency. And like Sugu just said now, the thing about Montrez is he does a lot of the dirty work. Like he takes a lot of punishment in the paint. And he dishes out too, but he's a very integral part of the Clippers team. So another tough category to kind of decide. And then we go into most improved player. Wow, okay. We've got Bam Adebayo from the Heat. We've got Luka Doncic from the Mavericks. And then we've got my man B.I., Brandon Ingram from the New Orleans Pelicans. Who are you guys giving your vote to on this one? Tula, you can go first.
Well, shit. Okay, so I'm gonna have to say BI, but I feel like Luca shouldn't even be there. Luca should be
Right?
on the MVP conversation.
Right?
Um, yeah, I think a lot of people who voted Luca in are basically just saying, well, he has gotten better, which is like, yeah, that's true. Most improved player is about a player that actually improves themselves. But I think for me it was just for Luca, like I kind of expected him, like he's a future Hall of Famer, and he's been doing this like even in Europe he was as good as he is. So um, not to say he doesn't deserve to get it because he has improved and that's a good thing, but Brandon Ingram has really improved. I mean, Brandon Ingram went from averaging I think about 14 or 15 points per game to averaging about 25 to 26 points per game, and that's a huge improvement.
Ever. Yeah.
And there's another player, man, that that is not here, and I'm really pissed off that he's not here. Um, what's his name? Um,
So
he
I
plays
will
for
give you
the
a
Hornets. What's his name?
place for the
What's
Hornets.
his name? Yeah, he plays for the Hornets. What's his
Do my
name?
Tony.
Uh,
Tony Rozier.
no, not Rozier. What's his name? The kid that's been just draining threes right now, like crazy
Shit.
in the Hornets.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, the Hornets is also one of those teams that you forget there in the NBA. Okay, cool. Well, you
Yeah.
while you
anyway,
find that.
yeah. Yeah. You can ask. Oh yeah, I got him. Devontae Graham. He's been
Oh yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
but
Yeah, the Hornets
that kid
also
is too good. It's too good. He's
yeah.
improved really well. I'm surprised he didn't get it to make most improved player. But hey man, I'll still go for BI though, because yeah, he's really improved.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Manny, who do you give your
Yeah,
vote to?
I think this one's clear cut, man. It's Brandon Ingram. I think
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
like for me, yeah, like I think it's a pretty simple one. Like it's not as contentious as the other ones. I mean, Bam's been good, but I think Brandon's
I've been
growth
amazing,
has just
bro.
been he has. But I think
Amazing.
but I think Ingram's growth has just been like steep. Been very steep.
Yeah.
And I think his story helps him as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
being traded away from the Lakers and then kind of having to make his way there in New Orleans. And then yeah, like I mean, he like I think what because I think him and Lonzo and the rest of the guys, what they were able to do just to make the Pelicans like a playoff contender, that's a testament to them. Because I think everyone saw them as just like this is just like a kind of transition year for them. Whereas I think
Mm.
those like that young core for them, and the fact that those guys stood up, especially Bi, kind of bodes well for their future. Whereas I think Bam is good, but I don't think he's as integral to Miami as Brandon is to the Pelicans at this point.
Yeah. And then how do you guys feel about Luka being there? I mean, Tula, you've kind of answered to it. So how do you feel? I feel like, you could have given someone like Karis LeVert even a look at like most improved player, you know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nonsense, man. That's rubbish. That's utter rubbish.
I
Waste of
mean,
space.
Luka's been playing professional basketball since he was like 14 or something, Joe. Like that's
Yeah,
just right. So,
like you might as well put like you could put Harden there or like Giannis there saying, oh no, Giannis got better defensively, so he's most improved player. No, man,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
nonsense.
I mean, I think also be interesting to see how much better. And maybe that's a conversation we can have next episode. Is how much better Doncic's numbers have gotten between his first season and the second season. I
Yeah.
think maybe is because like he was coming from Europe and people didn't know a lot about him last season. Because I mean, he has had an MVP caliber season, but his first season wasn't a bad season either. It was like still pretty
Exactly.
decent. Yeah, cool. And Sugumani, who is your coach of the year between Mike Budenholzer from the Milwaukee Bucks, Billy Donovan from the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Nick Nurse from the Toronto Raptors?
I'd say give it to Nick again, man.
All right.
because everyone thought the Raptors was gonna like struggle without Kawhi, and it's like surprise, surprise, they're still there.
Bobby, what do you mean give it to Nick again?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he should have got it last year for me. So yeah,
Yeah.
because like for me, yeah.
So you just basically gave it to Nick Nurse last year. You're like, just take it,
Yeah,
take
yeah,
it. It's
yeah.
yours.
I didn't even pay attention to what the NBA said. I was like, Nick Nurse won it last year. So I was like,
Your mind was made up. Yeah, and then Tula, who do you got?
Yeah, I got Nick Nurse too. Yeah, for the same reason. I personally actually thought that the Raptors wouldn't make it past. I think I actually thought that they wouldn't be a good team at all. Actually, post Kawhi, but they actually, but which was weird for me because I was like, yo, Fred VanVleet was playing really well last season. Larry was playing really well last season. So they had the personnel for it, but I was like, I just wanted to see, but for them to be as good as they are, because like I expected them to be at least like an 8 team, but they for them to be as good as they are, it's obviously because of the coaching, and Nick Nurse deserves all the credit for that because even last season, I can get why Sue actually picked Nick Nurse for last season because even last season he showed the league that he can actually use the personnel that he has and actually help them get better and also and also make championships out of them because if you look at how Pascal Siakam was playing last season, his improvement was mainly because of Nick Nurse, and now him actually staying as good as he was last season because if you look at the numbers, his numbers are still as good. Kalari is still playing really well. VanVleet's like he's also really playing it well, and that team just has a really, really good playing system, and they have a really great structure, and they're a huge threat defensively and offensively, and that's all because of Nick Nurse, and that's why he does deserve coach of the year. Like he's been amazing.
And shout out to my son, Ujiri, while we're on that, because he put together a fucking crazy lineup there, man.
Yeah, dude. But that's that eye, bro. Like if you look at a lot of these teams that have good front offices, they've either once or twice been part of the Popovich era, and it's normally because like Popovich's way of playing basketball is very selfless, and he really looks at a player's potential and the player's ability on the court outside of just them being like a star and like how many shoe deals they can get, if they can, fill up seats and stuff like that. And we've seen a lot of teams actually take into that philosophy. I mean, Brad Stevens was, I think, one of the first players to take from that philosophy, and now you're seeing post Popovich era, you're seeing a lot of people who've come out of that system actually do well outside. Because a lot of the front office in the Raptors, when Kawhi actually came to Toronto, some of the players that some of the front office members that used to be part of the Spurs actually came to Toronto as well. And I think that's also why Kawhi actually traded to the Raptors, because he knew that, well, if I got these guys, then I should be fine, And we're seeing that now. So, yeah.
Yeah. It was also brave of side to kind of get rid of Dwayne Casey, who literally led them to the East Conference Finals, and make Nick Nurse the coach. So that was like a very, very bold step. That and trading DeMar DeRozan, like those are very two bold moves, and basically paid off in the end. So I know he's not from Toronto, but I'm going back to back. I'm gonna give it to Mike Badenhauser. Because obviously, the Bucks have the best record in the East for the second year in a row. They've gotten better as a team. They've gotten tighter as a team. So I feel like he deserves, he's kept that unit together. And I think that just makes sense for me.
Come on.
But, again, this is another very tight category because, I mean, personally, before this season, and still to a certain degree, I'm still a little unconvinced. I wasn't really sold on Billy Donovan. But I think he's done a really fantastic job with the Thunder team. I mean, from not like making or struggling to make playoffs to kind of having a decent team, I think he's done really well. I think everyone had written him off when Paul George left, when Russell left. And I think he's found a really good way to bring that team together and actually bring them into the playoffs. So I think Bill Donovan deserves like a dope shout out as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wins as well. And then, Sugu, because you've been giving, Tula, asking him to vote first all the time, I'm going to leave this one to you. The hardest conversation. Most valuable player. We've got James Harden from the Houston Rockets. We've got LeBron James from the Los Angeles Lakers. And we've got Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Milwaukee Bucks. Who you got?
Giannis Antetokounmpo, bro. Simple.
Right.
I think LeBron. I think LeBron gets a shout out because he's doing well as far as just like for his age and what he's done. Like, yeah, cool. Like he's done very well. But I think for LeBron, what kind of counts against him for me is he's been so good for so long. And I think when you look at the personnel around him, like there's quite a bit around him. Whereas when you look at Milwaukee, I think Giannis is like the focal point. Like he really is like that dude for his team. And I think his playing style and his ability and just what he brings to the Bucks, kind of just for me that's what takes him over the edge. And like he has gotten better season on season. So I give it to Giannis.
Whoa, nigga. Firstly, you can't say Rudy Gobert deserves Defensive Player of the Year because he's been consistently good, and then you hold it against LeBron.
Yeah, look,
Hey,
but I mean,
decide.
the thing is for a player like but I mean for LeBron, like if that's the case, then he's always going to be MVP. You know what I mean? Because that's who he is. Like he's that good of a player, and I think he often ends up in these sort of super teams. So that for me, it's kind of like he surrounds himself with the right things. Whereas I think for someone like Giannis, I think he's just like that system in Milwaukee. Just kind of he's a lot more of a focal point within that system, and that kind of makes him more of like a key cog. I mean, if Giannis wasn't there, I think LeBron would have been the obvious choice. But because you've got Giannis, who's just like week in week out, and just for what he does for the Bucks, that's why I give it to him now.
So you wouldn't make the same argument for James Harden, the fact that he's the focal point of the Houston Rockets attack?
I think to a lesser point because now he has Russell. So like he can. So there's a two-man game, like, and then with LA there's like a two-man game. You know what I mean? Whereas with the Bucks, there's Chris Middleton and there's like Brook Lopez and other players around him, but it really is like a Giannis kind of situation. Like he has to be that guy. Like there's no one that he can kind of say like, okay, cool, you can carry us for the fourth quarter. It's like, okay, I need to step up.
Yeah. Before I ask you to I want to ask you guys this as well. How crazy is it that Chris Middleton is one of the few guys, I think Kevin Durant, Chris, Steph Curry, and I think Larry Bird are three of the four players, I can't remember who the other one is, who've averaged 50% field goal average, 90% from the free throw line, and over 40% from 3 points. Chris Middleton is about to join those players as one of the few players to achieve that feat. But we still don't rate him as like a superstar in the game. What do you guys think why do you think that is? And what do you think he needs to do to up his game?
I think that's okay, cool. I think that Middleton, I think one thing that takes a lot of people, that puts a lot of people off with Middleton is that and that's why a lot of people still don't see him as a star and more of like a kind of like part of the supporting cast sometimes, is because he doesn't he doesn't go off. Like he doesn't control the game when Giannis is off the court. You know what I mean? Like the reason why in Cleveland in 2016, the reason why Kyrie was a second star and not just another player in the team with LeBron. The reason why he was a second star was because when LeBron was out, Kyrie would still give you 40. You know what I mean? Like he would still give you those points. A lot of people look at what Middleton does and they say, yes, he's got the ability. Yes, he's averaged the points that he has and the percentages that he has. But the thing about Middleton is that he doesn't have that killer instinct that says, look, I'm gonna stand out. I'm gonna do this by myself. Like if you take a Middleton and you put him in any other team, you don't immediately envision him being a star in that team. You're seeing him being another role player in that team, and that's why it's so hard for people to see him as a star, even though he's performed so well. I mean, I've had this argument with a lot of guys, and I think that Middleton is very, very talented, and he actually he has the ability to carry a team and actually and be that good. But then it's more of an attitude thing about him. I think he prefers to kind of like lay low and be the person, the kind of player he is, and that's fine. But yeah, I think that's the one thing that people go against. Yeah.
All right. Anything you want to add to that, Tugumani?
Yeah, I think Tools kind of nailed it. I mean, he doesn't go off. Like, he doesn't have those nights where you're just like, holy shit, look at what Middleton did. And I mean, I think that's something that, and unfortunately, like the NBA is a very star-centric league, so you need those like holy shit moments. And I think that's kind of what gets people like that's what gets you on the radar. Like scoring 25 points every game, it's great, it's consistent, but you're not showing. But like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not doing anything out of the ordinary as far as what people kind of see as like what star basketball is.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, you guys have just basically summed it up perfectly. It's also that killer instinct, man. Like Dame has shown that killer instinct. On some occasions, CJ has shown that killer instinct. With Kawhi and Paul George, you know it's there. With LeBron and AD, you know it's there. Russ and James Harden, you know. And I think that's the nice thing is like sometimes, you know, I remember even when we were talking a lot about, you know, the Lost Dance. Like there was a thing about like Michael Jordan being an asshole, and to a certain degree, Scottie Pippen being an asshole as well. And I think you need that as like if you want to be great at anything. Like, you know, Pharrell is probably one of the few people in the world who's made it in life by being nice. But I think in competitive sports, I mean, I think it's okay to be like to have that mean edge, you know, to have that ruggedness that just makes you. And like I've never seen Chris Middleton take over a game. I've never seen him be like, okay, Giannis is struggling, I'm going to put the team on my back and I'm going to take us home. It's like when Giannis disappears and the team is against the wall, he disappears too. And that's when you need your second best player to basically step up. Okay, cool. Tula, who's your MVP?
Sure. MVP has been a very tough one, bro. Because, I mean, the top three players who are in the MVP race, like, have been just so amazing. It's just like it's hard to really decide. But first of all, I'll go for Giannis as for MVP. Because of how good he has been. But I have to also make an argument about LeBron and why he comes so close to being the MVP. Like for me, it's really that close because LeBron, even though he's not like the main focal point of the Lakers team, because now he's got AD with him and they play really well together. The thing about LeBron is we as basketball fans have gotten to a point where we're comparing LeBron to himself. We're saying, oh, this is like his 17th season. It's amazing that he's even doing this. Like all of that stuff. We're comparing him to himself. Like we're not looking at the entire league and how the whole league has developed and how every other player is doing so well. And we're not looking at that and saying, that's why LeBron can't stand a chance, or that's why LeBron is as good he is. It's not about that. It's not about the years that he has put on that, or how old he is right now. I think his performance has been amazing, but we can equate some of LeBron's performances to how well Luka has been playing in the regular season, and he's not even part of he's not even like in the top three. And that being said, with LeBron, he's really been putting it on, I think, offensively, for the Lakers, and defensively, I mean, I think AD has been really helpful for that team, defensively, and I think that's why LeBron has been able to get the points that he's been having and all that stuff. So seeing that he's had that support, he's gotten that support, kind of takes him a few points lower than Giannis, and that's also the reason why Harden also gets a few points lower, because Harden's game is purely offensive, right? It's the whole thing is offense. He's amazing. He's an amazing 3-point shooter. He's very crafty, and his pace is amazing. Like, he plays in his own sort of slow but yet kind of fast speed. But even with him, if he didn't have the cast that he had, they wouldn't be where they are, because their defense has also been really good for them. Like, for them to even be part of, like, to be number 4 in the seed, like, they had to have some really good defense, and it did not come from Harden. Like, Harden's really started playing defense in the bubble, and like, that shocked me. I was like, yo, this guy's actually playing some really good D. But before that, Harden would kind of just like sit back when they get to the other side of the court, and a lot of their game is very much reliant on them getting more points than the other team consistently, and they've been able to do that very well. It's I think the system that the Rockets have kind of favors Harden a lot. So obviously he's going to have high numbers, he's going to have all those things, and it's going to make sense. But with Giannis, the reason why Giannis is an MVP for me, first of all, he's improved from last year. And he's really been putting it on defensively, which is why he's also been listed in Defensive Player of the Year. And off the court, I think this is why it's so important that we look at the MVP votings for like holistically, because yes, players might perform really well on the court, but what kind of influence do they have on the players, and like how are they getting every other teammate on the same mindset as theirs? If you look at what LeBron's been doing with the Lakers, I think the motivation behind the Lakers right now is, we gotta get it for Kobe. Like, that's what they think. We're doing this in honor of Kobe. We're trying to get the ring in honor of Kobe. So LeBron doesn't have to. Yes, LeBron still captains the team, but LeBron doesn't have to literally give them that drive every single game in and game out. And we've seen so many players not actually play into that mindset in the Lakers, because it's such a huge market team, and you pretty much are a celebrity as soon as you get into the Lakers court. So like getting that level of discipline on all the players is a lot more difficult. But with Giannis in Milwaukee, he's been able to be such a huge influence for that team. Like, you see him even when he's not on the court, like, he's coaching that team. He's telling the players where to stand, how to play defense, and all that stuff. And I think that's the thing that's making Giannis an MVP for the second year, is that he's realized that, okay, I can make it to MVP. I can be the greatest player in this league, but if my team is not playing as good as I am, then we're going to lose. And the reason why they have the record they have right now is because the team has actually switched it on. Brook Lopez wasn't playing the level of defense he's been playing in this season, and Giannis you can tell that he's a really huge influence. Like he's the one that's put it on and said, look, guys, we have to play really good defense.
No
And
time.
the level of hustle that he puts on influences everyone. It inspires everyone else. So everyone else comes in and they say, yo, if Giannis can come in back and forth, be a two-way player like that, I can be a two-way player like that. Everybody plays well enough. So yeah, Giannis is literally the most valuable player in the NBA right now. Like, no doubt.
At this point, I think we might have to check your Celtics membership card because it sounds like you're in love with the Bucks right now, my boy.
As long as the team wears green, he's happy.
I'm still a huge Celtics fan from the jump, you know. But we gotta look at basketball and say, look, that team is doing amazing. You gotta accept it, you know. You can't just be like, oh, my team alone. I love my team, even when they're not performing. You know, like Knicks fans.
Dog, it's fine.
Like,
you like green, dog. It's fine. We've accepted it. We've accepted it. So I'm just gonna say though, I think the thing is, I remember we had this conversation a while ago, but for me, I remember everyone was making a lot of noise about when the Lakers played the Bucks and how LeBron shut Giannis down, and I was like, people are looking at it in the wrong way, right? Because everyone's always trying to hype up LeBron, and I think like there's a bit of a bias behind LeBron. I think LeBron definitely deserves to be in the MVP conversation, but just like he makes it easy for AD to get looks, AD makes it easy for him to get looks. So they work quite well. Same with James Harden and Russell Westbrook. I mean, I think with James, he's putting up crazy historic numbers. I think last year he put up historic numbers, and he's beating those numbers this year. Like it's just insane. He's about to win the scoring title, or he's won the scoring title for the second year in a row. So that's on its own is insane. But I think the thing with Giannis is like when I watched the game against the Lakers, at some point he was being guarded by LeBron. At some point he was being guarded by Anthony Davis. At some point he was guarding LeBron James. At some point he was guarding Anthony Davis. And I remember at some point he was shooting free throws and he looked exhausted. And I was like, sheesh. Like the fact that the Bucks were close in that game and he scored as many points as he did was insane because, it's unimaginable that you have to go up against two superstars like that as one person, carrying your team and leading your team. And again, the fact that Giannis has improved on his offensive numbers this year. He's got more points, more rebounds, more assists, and then he's up for Defensive Player of the Year. Like that is insane. I mean, if that doesn't say MVP, I don't know what does. But again, it's one of those cases where like each and every one of those players deserves to be there. But I think, like you said, all those points that you guys made is like just keep putting Giannis a bit more ahead of the other two. So it's been a really dope episode. You guys are fucking amazing, giving some really dope insights. Look, Sooks, don't leave that Drip City jersey around me because I'm definitely going to jack that bad boy.